because of their unpleasant conditions at the time, most of them would do anything for a little bit of comfort. He also blared heavy metal music, he reversed entertaining sleep cycles, and introduced unpleasant smells into the rooms, and also he put them in stress positions. Tim Malowski, an American interrogator, remarked that stress positions were among the most feared of all the prisoners. These were when they were forced to squat or stand in an uncomfortable position for a long amount of time. After he cleared these methods, Rumsfeld used these methods on the prisoner Katani. After just 18 hours of these methods, Katani broke and he gave up information on Al-Qaeda leaders that turned out to be vital. This entire process was supervised by a medic, a psychiatrist, a lawyer. No permanent harm was done, and the American interrogators got the information they needed. So, methods of interrogation and torture should be used if it follows the standards for conduct for interrogation. This prohibits severe pain or suffering. To qualify as severe pain or suffering, such damage must rise to death, organ failure, or permanent damage. So now I bet you're thinking, sure, torture sounds good in theory and it worked in that one instance, but does it work in other instances? Well, it also worked in the instance with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He was put in stress positions and sleep deprivation for 2 weeks, and he broke down and gave information on Al-Qaeda leaders that prevented a bombing. Now, questions on torture need to be addressed. What if an innocent man is tortured? Sadly, no system of justice is perfect. Should the court system throw out the concept of jail simply because an innocent man might be convicted? No, that is a risk you get with any organized system. The question, what if you torture an innocent man, should be replaced with, what's the price of failing to interrogate or torture a guilty man when this torture and interrogation could prevent bombings and save American lives? Another question that needs to be asked is, won't someone being tortured just say about anything to get out of pain? Well, this is possible, but if the proper fear of retaliation is used, this is not likely. If a lead is proven false, the prisoner will be punished and further interrogated until they give up information. The key is consistent, long-term interrogation and torture. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was remarked by Karen Greenberg, who was an international reporter, to be the most stubborn of prisoners. He wanted to give up no information at first, but after two weeks of torture, he finally gave up information. So when torturing, you just have to be patient. You have to retaliate if they lie, and eventually it will work in most instances. So in conclusion, if the standards of conduct for interrogation replace the Geneva Convention, America would be much better off. American interrogator Chris Nicky reported that the dire consequences of violating the Geneva Convention were repeated so often and drilled into his head to the point where he could recite the rules presented to him in his sleep. When the Geneva Convention was in place, soldiers felt so scared about breaking the code set before them that their actions were negatively limited. When there are no laws or rules, on the other hand, the interrogators at Abu Ghraib tortured using cruel methods, and this almost started an international conflict with Afghanistan. With the standards of conduct for interrogation in place, the interrogators would feel much less constricted in their methods and get better results. Results from cases such as Katani and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed would be more common. Bombs would be stopped. Citizens in the United States would be more protected. And terrorists would know that we mean business and we want to protect our country. There would be no more direct interrogation that yielded no results, but instead safe torture supervised by a medic, psychiatrist, and lawyer that broke down the hard exterior of the terrorist and kept America thriving. Torture should be allowed if it does not leave any permanent marks or damage. Because the Geneva Convention is ineffective, torture is effective if used correctly, and the standards of conduct for interrogation are a better alternative.
That was great. I don't have any questions. I think you really just addressed everything.
Yes, Jenny, fantastic. Just an amazing presentation. Just amazing. Very good. I do have a number of questions. I'm just still trying to get over how good that was. Let me start with, it seemed to me at one point you were sort of making a utilitarian argument. That is that, you know, if you get what you want, then it's okay. In other words, if it's effective, then it's right. How would you answer that?
Well, I would say at the place in Abu Ghraib, it actually was effective. They actually did get the information they needed, but it was taken in a complete lawless and chaotic way. And as I've said before, it almost started an international conflict with Afghanistan. So I would say even if it is effective, it is not always right. There are methods that are effective and safe at the same time. So that is what I'm proposing.
Okay, good answer. All right, so talk to me a little bit about how you would defend this from a biblical worldview.
I didn't look into that as much. From a biblical worldview, I'm sorry, I can't answer that this time.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent job, Jen. I mean, great eye contact, great presentation, very, very thorough. Before I ask a question on what you presented, I try to ask you why this topic. I mean, where did this come from?
Well, my brother, he's actually a political science major. So when he came home all the time, all he would talk about is politics. And eventually, even though it was boring for a while, I eventually got into it a little bit too. And after the conflict with 9/11, I'm like, what can America do to prevent it, to prevent conflicts like that, and how can we stay safe? So I guess just wanting to keep America safe, seeing what other methods could be used, and my brother talking about politics all the time eventually got me into international issues.
It's dark, but it's very, very relevant. I mean, it's one of those dark but necessary topics. I mean, it certainly is something that needs to be addressed. Let me ask you, what if former Secretary Rumsfeld's methods failed to produce the results? So far, it seems that they've been effective. What if they don't produce results? Is there like a phase 2 where you would take it a little further maybe and go beyond those parameters?
Well, of course, it is not always effective. Those are just 2 instances. And what kind of prisoners, they are very trained in going against interrogation and against torture a little bit too. Of course, the key is consistent and long-term interrogation. But hypothetically, if it didn't work, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was also waterboarded. And this is very effective because it feels like the prisoner is drowning. It feels like they can't breathe. This hasn't been proven damaging at all. So that is a very